And welcome. I am your host, Jenny Stevens, and I am just thrilled to be introducing you today to an absolutely amazing woman and fantastic, phenomenal leader. I'm here with Melahni Ake, and Melahni is the founder of Everyday Leaders. And that's not where it stops. I'm going to let her tell you guys what she is doing in the world because it is absolutely fantastic. Welcome, Melahni.
Thank you, Jenny. This is so much fun meeting you and being on this journey. I love this. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. I'm so glad you're here with me today.
This is awesome. You know, when we connected, you said, I have this vision of she's empowered. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is what I live for right now, is helping people realize that they have a story, that they have something that empowers them in their life. And so this was so appropriate because I started Everyday Leaders with this vision in my heart. And it really is a vision of my heart to know that people that feel like they're disconnected from the world, and especially through COVID, but disconnected from their life, can really find that through knowing what's really true in their heart and reducing all of that noise. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about what I've learned, what I'm learning, what I believe that people have been empowered to understand, that when they take steps in their life, that they can really just own their life again. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to share today. And I'm just so excited to be here on this journey with you.
Oh, and I'm so excited to have you with us. Now, obviously you didn't wake up one day and just fall into this. There was this whole journey that took place ahead of where we are at today. Can you kind of tell everybody a little bit of your story of where you started and how you really came to what you're doing today?
Yep. So I think, Steve Jobs said, when you go back and connect the dots is when you really understand. So for me, really hearing that message, you could hear it a million times, but then when you hear the message, the time that it matters, it's because you're ready. You're ready to understand that. And so when I heard it again, and I thought, my journey is really about where I originally started. And so I have to go back to my family, and my grandparents were part of an evangelistic center that they built, my great-grandparents actually. And that was a community leadership development from their heart. It was a tabernacle, it was a school, it was a nursing home, it was a clinic. Like, it was things that the community needed at that time. It was actually the first documented nursing home in Indiana. And so when I started to learn all of this about myself, and I was becoming a leadership coach with the John Maxwell team, things started to get really clear for me. I was also 49. So I was getting ready to turn that big golden year of 50. And I didn't really have any plans. Like, for me, it wasn't about what will you achieve by the time that you were 50. It was just the time that I was going through that moment of clarity. And I had done so many things in my life with intention. And so I knew this needed to be really intentional. First of all, I'll tell you, going back, one of the things that I did that was super intentional for me in my leadership journey was, before I went to college, I knew I had had a lot of influencers in my life, but there was something that I really wanted to learn and understand to take with me all throughout my journey. And so that was going to Disney World. When I was 18, I graduated from high school, and I went down to my grandparents' house in Orlando. And I thought, I'm not a part of a summer intern program like they have now. I don't have access for, people that have already worked at Disney, but I knew that the values were matched with my heart. They were about servant leadership, teaching servant leadership principles and serving customers. And I wanted to understand how they did that from behind the scenes. So at the time in 1986, okay, I'm giving away my age again, but they had trailers, and they didn't have the big cast members office. They had actual trailers that we went and we applied for jobs and started these traditions classes. And so if you've ever studied the Disney philosophy, they teach you the principles of serving others. It's all about serving others. So here's what's great about this. I started my leadership program on my podcast, Everyday Leaders 50 and 50. And one of my goals was to, again, connect the dots and start interviewing people that were important to me. So, Jenny, one of those interviews, I reached out to Lee Cockrell, that had been the VP of Disney for many years, and he shared his personal story with me. And it was phenomenal because it was purposeful. It was things that I was really curious about all my life. And I got to share moments with him about things that they did from a leadership perspective to empower their employees, to make them feel included and purposeful. And it just validated, right? All these things continued to validate my own journey. And so there's so much more that we're going to talk about, but that's just the tip of the iceberg where I go, if I hadn't connected the dots, it wouldn't have value or be important to me today to give me the confidence that I have now going forward, saying, I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I do know what is important to me. And so I can just kind of know what my heart is pulling me to, right? To have that vision and not have to have it all figured out.
Well, and I think that's a great point, is not having it figured out, leaving it open, like setting the intention, knowing that you're moving in the right direction, and not worried about what each step along the way is going to look like or how it's going to pan out. And that's the beauty of it. So anybody that's looking at starting something, it starts with just taking action. You don't have to have a 3-year plan. You just have to take action today towards that goal. Because like you said, action creates that clarity. And I love that. That's what came up for me as you were describing that. So I'd love to hear more.
Well, it's so important because here's the thing, right? I started to do this and I got inspired to even start a podcast and even say, what's the vision look like at 50? I mean, I was just kind of going through corporate America struggles, and I was really successful in my own space, and I was having the time of my life. And yet I was being challenged by leadership saying, what's your value to this company? Because my role was to be in sales leadership, but in a training capacity. So I was going all over the world training people that I didn't even speak their language, but yet I was responsible for making sure we made impact. So the things that I did were really creative. And part of that, I knew that there was something missing in me from a personal perspective. And that was that I had not really invested in myself in personal development. I had expected everybody else to tell me, oh, you need to go take that class, or you're in companies that they will give you communication courses, or they will identify, right, where you need to go so that you can take that next role. And I relied on that for so long that I had forgotten that, my goodness, you can do personal development and you could really strive to be something outside of what corporate America labels you in. And so my journey has been all about that, or like realizing that my own self-worth wasn't about being equipped for a company. It was equipping your life for your heart. Like, it's a big difference, right? And so anyway, going back again, connecting those dots, it was in 2016, 6 years ago, that I got a call from a coordinator from the John Maxwell team. And they said, oh my gosh, we have this fabulous program. You're in leadership roles in your company. This is something that you might want to consider. And I just kept listening to them. And I realized that this was a gap that I had. And I really wanted to dive in and learn more. And so I signed up. I signed up for the experience, and I got 2 free tickets to come down to John Maxwell's Live to Lead. This is a conference that he does every single year, and he brings in 4 really prominent leaders, and you get to be in the room and experience this. And so here's why I tell you this, because this changed my life. This one yes to say, I value this, this is important. At that conference was John Maxwell that I got to meet in person. Also, Dan Cathy from Chick-fil-A, right? The founder of Chick-fil-A. Simon Sinek, the founder of Start With Why. Yep. Liz Wiseman, she's the multiplicity, lady. And so these 3 people really had influence over my next steps. I didn't know that until I said yes to something that was pulling on my heart. And so anyway, I meet Simon Sinek and I got to tell him like, hey, I'm involved in training all over the world. And I'm actually using your Start With Why program on the internet that's had 500,000 views. I'm using that to be able to connect and communicate to my teams internationally. And he said, that's really cool. So the neat thing about that is where I am today, right? 6 years ago, that one conversation, that one opportunity to be in the room at the time that my heart was pulling me, it changed everything else that I believed in. And so I was equipping my journey without even knowing it because I was in alignment with my heart. I was in alignment with my focus and my confidence was building. So awesome, right? It was so awesome. And then other things happened.
Well, and I think, so what came up for me was just that, you started building that foundation, not necessarily knowing what it was going to take from you, right? What you were going to have to invest. But when you said yes to, this vision of what you wanted to be doing, it's like you started laying the groundwork. And as you laid the groundwork, it just kind of layered and layered. And I think that's important to kind of unpack a little bit, just because I think many women feel that, oh, I'm either born confident or you're not, right? It's either you have it or you don't. And I think it's important to know that you can build it. You can build that foundation, and then just layer by layer, you keep building yourself up. It's like working a new muscle. So I love that that's how your journey is, because it shows us a real life like example of how this happens.
The thing is when I was in corporate roles, I was surrounded in a medical industry. So it was typical, leadership was mostly men. And I'll say in my environment, it was all men. And so for me to feel like included, I didn't feel empowered. I didn't feel like I had a voice. But understanding that personal development was the thing that I really needed to focus on to give myself that confidence to know that the decisions that I needed to make weren't in alignment with this corporate structure. It just was not in alignment with my heart. And that's why I felt like I always was missing this piece. I was missing a piece to this puzzle that was so confusing and overwhelming and frustrating that I thought, okay, I can have financial success and I can have material success and I can do all these things that look like, yeah, you've got a great life. Yet I was just struggling inside going, there is something that does not fit. There is just something and I've got to figure out what that is. And so this was my journey, and this is where it all started in really in 2016 to kind of start putting these pieces back together.
Oh, I love that. And they came together so beautifully because you look at what you're doing today. You are, you've got this great podcast, you've got an amazing company. And really it took you just saying yes to investing in yourself. That's where this, that's where this all kind of, it seems like this is where it all began, right? Was when you said, hey, there's something missing and I get to invest in myself. And, not necessarily that the way you were going about it was wrong in any aspect. It was just, you got to look at it and say, what do I want to do for Melahni today? Right? You got to really have that intention of what that yes looks like.
I didn't want everybody else to define my beliefs. Right. And so a lot of times when you just kind of get stuck, you're like, you're just living your life. You're doing things every single day. You're following a job description. You're waiting for that raise. You're waiting for that validation from what it is, what the group is that you're committed to. And so you're just kind of surviving. I don't know that you're always thriving. You may feel good about projects that you're working on or communities that you're building, but you just may, if you feel like I felt at that time, I felt like there was something that just wasn't sinking. Like I was trying to prove something to other people instead of making sure that I was, validating my confidence for myself.
Mhm.
And that was the aha moment, right? When I felt that, when it happens to you, you go, wow, I can make a difference here. I can improve. I can decide to improve my life. And the impact that I've realized, Jenny, is it only takes 1% of time consistently every single day for 365 days. So if you do this investment of your time, which is only 14 minutes a day, every single day for 365 days, that compounding effect
Mhm.
is 37%. 37%. So if you make that decision to grow and develop yourself every single day for 14 minutes a day for 365 days, you will improve yourself, improve your outcomes, improve your life 37%. Now, that's a statistic that I
Mhm.
got really excited about because
Yeah.
I watched it happen for 6 years. That has happened to me. And
Mhm.
so now John Maxwell said at one of the first conferences that I attended to get certified is, when you commit to your growth, you will literally have to turn around and reintroduce yourself to yourself. And that's exactly what's happened. So the journey's been amazing, right?
Yes. Oh, and inspiring too. Just because, you're looking at it going, wow, you recognized that, you know, there was this gap, right? That's where it all started, is you recognize there was this gap. And then you're like, okay, so what's in the gap? You figured that piece out. So it's just like piece by piece by piece. And here we are today. And I love that you brought up that it's 1% of your day and it's only 14 minutes. I would love to hear, like, kind of what do you do with your 14 minutes a day to kind of to make that shift, that 37% a year shift.
Well, I'll tell you. So, being a person of faith,
Mhm.
I I really believe that part of my process, and I have been able to really connect to purpose so deeply, is because I know that today is just today. It's not the end. It's always going to get better. And if you invest in your time and yourself, that things will start to connect to your purpose. You will get into alignment. And so reducing the noise, especially these last couple of years of COVID, people are stressed out, isolated, getting sick. I've lost loved ones too. It's crazy, right? We don't have any control over it. Something that I did in 2019, consistently, I started a process that has made such an impact, and it's helped me become equipped for the things that I need to do with more confidence. And so that was taking on a challenge. My mentor, John Maxwell, had his Minute with Maxwell. It's one of his leadership programs that he does. And so one of these challenges, Jenny, was to read the book of Proverbs for 31 days. And I thought, okay, if you say so, you're my mentor. You've done everything else to tell me that I can grow in this way, and it's worked. So I took this consistency plan in John's challenge in 2019, October the 1st. And I thought, okay, a group of friends, a group of people will join me, and we'll do this. We'll keep each other accountable. So that's always better with friends, right?
Yes.
So we got on Zoom October 1st, 2019, and we said, we're going to be committed to 31 days. And if we can do this for 31 days, let's see what we've learned. And so we did. So we got online, and we, at 31 days, we studied the book of Proverbs from the John Maxwell Leadership Bible. And it has really intentional breakout boxes to teach you about leadership principles, not just the Proverbs itself, but things like talking about the ants and how they build foundations, and how when they're destroyed, that they come back to the foundational level and start over again. And they build community so quickly that they overcome, right? They overcome these obstacles. So stories like that make you go, gosh, I can get over anything. And so here we were in 2019 studying this together and learning lessons and applying these principles. And then we decided at the end of 31 days to keep going, because we were equipping ourselves with so much confidence in that 14 minutes a day. We were on sometimes longer, but we committed, right? We committed to this growth. And so what happened is we studied and we went to Corinthians and we went to Luke, and here was 2020. And we were like, wow, we've got momentum. And so February happened. We were getting ready, like, what should we do next? And I had my second live leadership event. We all came together in Indianapolis and had a great experience on just leadership training. And then the pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's March 13th, 2020, and the world shuts down. And now for the last 5 months, we've been studying every single day leadership principles. And so we kept going. And we kept adding people that said, oh my gosh, I don't have a lot of structure in my life. I'm afraid. I'm fearful. I don't know what to expect. And this process now today was 879 days, I will tell you, of consistency, of doing this one thing every day. Everyday leaders has become my mantra of like, okay, I'm getting really clear. This is my journey. This is what I was supposed to learn, that every day I'm supposed to be doing something to add value to my life that gives me so much clarity. So for me, 6 years ago, I didn't know what that everyday confidence was going to be, but I had a vision from my heart that there was something that I was searching for every day to create structure. And again, right, you go back and connect the dots and say, everyday leaders has become who I am. It's what I live. And I know that by doing this, I have created so much momentum, and I'm being equipped now, because God doesn't call you if you are equipped. He equips the called. So listening to my heart to say, I needed to do something different. I needed to find the value in my own life. I needed to connect to those things to build that confidence. Those are all the things that are getting really, really, really crystal clear to me in my life today.
Oh, and it's so powerful. And I think for many of us, we look at it and we go, oh my gosh, 879 days, Melanie, holy smokes. How do you even, but here's the thing. You started with one day, you committed to 31 days.
That's
so, right. I mean, you think about it, it's like, this is totally doable. It's 14 minutes a day. And you show up for yourself, because no one else is going to show up for you, right? You show up for yourself every single day. So you might as well make the most of each moment of your day. And I love that you take that 14 minutes and you really create something amazing. And I'm sure I can just feel it from you, that it just really sets the tone for the rest of the day to just have beautiful moments, time and time again, just because you are aligned and you are taking action towards that. So I love that. And it does help build that confidence in, kind of layer by layer by layer, because you're building yourself. And when you build yourself, you also get that new level of, feeling like, hey, I can step out in my life. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help people. And it starts with just taking action, just one action at a time, and creating those beautiful moments.
It puts you in check. It puts your heart in check to know, what do I really care about? What's important to me? What do I value? And then how am I going to react to the world? And so it just gives me so much clarity. I have not really been a journaler per se. And yet I do write things down. I just don't have a process. I'm not as good as my grandmother that wrote in her diaries every single day for her whole life. Yet I think that if you create that consistent process, you show up for yourself at that same time. And you may not learn something one day, but you may give yourself permission to say, at this time, I'm saving space in my heart to learn something, to grow. So whether that's exercise, whether that's, community work, whatever it is, if you do that consistency, then it will give you the clarity, which gives you the courage to then step forward into the next right thing.
Oh, I love that. And, what came up for me is like, okay, so we look at like people that we view as like courageous, and we're just like, oh, I would love to step into that. And, many of us will sit there and we'll be like, okay, well, maybe I can't do that. But really for for any of us, you can decide one day and just say, hey, I choose to be courageous in this moment. And you're going to shock yourself, right? You're going to open up something new in your life just by kind of cracking that door and then pushing it open and walking through. Right? Sometimes that's all it takes, is just, when you're in alignment, everything gets easy. And I think you've experienced that too. Is that right?
Yep. And we were talking this morning, and we brought up the fact that, when we search for wisdom, it's really, the wisdom is not knowing the next step. It's not knowing all the answers. It's knowing that we don't know the next step. And that's what fulfills your heart, because you have to tune back into that faith and that confidence that you have for your life, knowing that when you are in alignment, that the universe is going to respond to you, and it's going to show you the way. So you don't have to worry and fear and regret and get into these depression modes that I've seen so many people get into during these last couple of years, because it's been scary. You don't know the path, and your path has been redirected. Lots and lots and lots of the world have had to deal with choices that they did not expect. They did not plan for. They did not have savings for. They did not expect loved ones to pass away. They didn't expect to have to go through trauma, and just the world has changed, and we've all experienced it. No one is left behind, right? No one has been left behind in this pandemic. And so my word of encouragement is that you can do this. You can have this inner peace just by taking these steps. Every single person can enjoy this.
Oh, well, and I love that, because for many of us, we think that it's for someone else, right? And we're just like, oh, well, it's good for that person, but it's not. Like, I don't see myself as ever being able to do what she's doing or what he's
like, I'm not
doing.
allowed. I'm not allowed to have that, because I wasn't raised in that environment. I wasn't financially off. I didn't get to have those privileges, or whatever it is in your mind, your beliefs. You've just got to get to the point where you say, none of that matters. Today matters. Right now, what I do and the choices I make, I can make an impact in my life.
Oh, well, and not just in your own life, right? Because when you make an impact in your own life, it has a ripple effect, right? And it goes out to the whole world. So I love the ripple effect. It's like one of my favorite things. Oprah's got her favorite things. I got mine.
That's right. It's the law of multiplication, and it starts with the momentum, right? So, and people say you have to, how do you find the momentum, and how do you find the inspiration? And it's like, because that every day you get to do something that is going to make a difference for someone else. That's the thing, right? You may say on social media, you're posting something and nobody likes it, but I'll tell you, it doesn't matter. If you're consistent, people hear your message. You have to be consistent and not let the noise get involved in what you're processing, because you have to really, make that intentional post out there on social media, if that's what your jam is, so that people see you for who you are, not who you're trying to be. And, yesterday I was looking at LinkedIn, and somebody was saying, oh, well, I had a bad experience with an employer, and I'm afraid to post something like that on social media. And I'm like, you know what? If you're trying to just check boxes for other people, you're never going to be aligned with the right kind of employment, what you're looking for. Like, you should post the good things and the struggles that you're having, because those are the kinds of things that people really want to see about you. They want to understand how did you overcome that situation if you were eliminated, or if you had to change and pivot? How did that work for you? Did you have the confidence to pivot? What did you try next? Those are the things that they're going to ask you in job interviews, right? And so if you're true to your heart and you're true to yourself, and you can get to the point where you can share that, that's the most powerful thing. Employers are looking for people that say, hey, I overcame this. It wasn't my decision to be let go or removed, yet I knew that I had value, and these are the things that I'm really gifted in, that I know that that I can do and perform for other companies. Because, we've all been in those situations. And so, but we feel isolated when it happens to us. And that's the thing. That's why communities are built, right? That's why we have to become leaders in our own lives so that we can really elevate ourselves and the people around us.
Oh, I love that. And are there some specific things that that we can do to start kind of building those layers? Because really, when it comes down to when you look at confidence, when you're a leader in your life, and when you're building those leadership skills, they kind of are like right aligned with your confidence, right? Because the more personal leadership you have, the more you have to kind of give to the world, right?
Mhm.
So I would love to hear just a couple of those kind of strategies and tips that you use to kind of start building that.
Well, a few years ago, I told you that when I went to the John Maxwell conference, I met Simon Sinek. And a few years ago, the Y Institute was formed. And I joined as the first US affiliate coach for the Y Institute because this really aligned with the values that I was teaching already in my coaching practice. And what I learned is when this assessment is different than anything else, because it helped me validate my beliefs and get really clear in how I was communicating to the world. And so I believe that that is the first step to anyone in understanding, what really fuels your purpose. And a lot of people talk about purpose in a lot of different ways, but this is the one kind of assessment that it helped me understand that I wasn't just a contributor in the world, that yes, I did contribute to the world, but my core values were to challenge everything, to create things that didn't exist, to push the envelope. And when I realized that I could validate and I could communicate from my heart, it has changed everything in my life. It gave me the permission to say, you're not bossy, you're not trying to change things. It's how you show up, and people expect that from you. So shine in that. Don't back down from it, shine. And so it was another validation. The DISC and Myers-Briggs and all these other ones, they give you how you react to the world. This really gives you where you start, how what your natural state is and how you're wired up. And so that has been a process for me that's given so much clarity, and it has helped kind of identify where I need to build myself and my coaching practice and my business, and helping other people get really successful with more impact. That, I think, is the single thing that I can give to people is know your why, find it, and then starting to live it authentically gives you that confidence to say, it doesn't matter what my mom, my dad, my coworkers, my boyfriend, girlfriend, inner circle friends think about me. It's how I exist, and then you can thrive in your life.
Oh, and your why is so powerful. I love that you brought that up. Because a lot of us, we don't think about the depth of our why. We have like a surface level, what I call a surface level why, right? Okay, well, I'm doing it for these reasons. But when you really start kind of going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you really find out what at your core your why is, you will find like this inner strength, this power that you've never felt before, because you are now like on purpose, right? You're creating beautiful things in your life on purpose, for a purpose, and to really be a blessing out there in the world. And I think the power of why I love Simon Sinek, like he's one of my favorite authors. So
it's so great.
I'm so
And I
happy
go
that
back.
I can meet him.
Well, and I go back to 2016, and I think, had I not have already been following him and using his practices, and then this kind of came about, I was like, this is in alignment, right? This is in alignment with everything that I believe and do. And so when I took the assessment, I could have bet you $3 million that I would have tested as a contributor. I just would have, because I'm like, my heart is to show up and add value. Although that's not what motivates me to do the things to be empowering in my life, to have confidence and success. If I showed up as a contributor, I would still feel this empty place. I'd say, well, I'm here, but I'm not able to challenge things. Right. And
Mhm.
so knowing that, understanding this process and really being able to coach into it now for myself and others, it has just been like practice makes perfect. Right. And you test it and model it and go, now I get it. Now I can really help identify the strengths and help people make impact so much faster. And it gives me that permission to say, okay, you may want me to apologize, yet here's how I'm going to challenge you today. And so that's why I responded to the 31-day challenge. That's why everything that I have done has been successful, because in my mind, I've been like, we can make it look differently. We can make it look better today than it's ever been. We can create something that doesn't exist. And so that's why my clients come to me today. I want you to help me create something that doesn't exist in a better way to make a bigger impact. So that's what Everyday Leaders is.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, so really, anyone out there, like the people watching and listening to this, that is truly powerful, because many of us, we look and we're just like, well, I don't know if I can create that. Well, I want to give you some hope here. Clearly, there are people like Melahni who can walk you through the process and help you get clear. And it's so powerful, because really we're all born to create, right? And you think about anything that you have in life, like, I've got my phone, you got like a mouse, all of these things, they didn't just magically appear one day. They were created in someone's mind first. So everything is created twice. And when you think about everything as being created twice, it just unlocks so much more, because it's like, wow, the vision you have, the dream you have for your life, you can start creating that every day, right? You can start creating it. And if you're just like, oh, well, I don't know if I can do it by myself, you don't have to. Life is a team sport. So, and that's why I think Melahni, when you said you invested in yourself, it's like, okay, I think some of us, we think that the only investment we make in ourselves is maybe, going on and getting a degree, or, we go get a certificate for something we want to be doing. And what I'm going to tell you is, invest in yourself wherever your heart is like kind of pulling you towards. That's the next step. And for Melahni, it was going to the John Maxwell conference, right? And becoming a leader in that regard. And for each of us, it's going to be a different journey. So I have so enjoyed our time this morning, because right now, guys, we're recording it, it's morning. And it's been absolutely fantastic. So I hope everyone has like harvested these golden nuggets and been taking notes. I'm definitely going to go back and re-listen to this so I could take some notes, because I love, just to recap a couple of things that really popped for me, was that 14% of, 14 minutes a day, 1% of your day. That's it. That's all it takes. And consistency. Be committed to being consistent each day to really invest in yourselves. And that's the big thing that came for me. And then finding your why, digging deep, what's in the gap. And so yeah, I could go on and on, but those are the things that really came up for me. So Melahni, thank you for bringing those to the forefront, for helping us unpack them today. And, I know we're getting close to the end of our conversation, which I think we should have more.
We will.
Wonderful. And I know you've got an absolutely tremendous gift that you are giving to our attendees of this particular event. I would love for you to tell them a little bit more about what the gift is that you're giving.
Yes, thank you so much, Jenny. This has been awesome. I think wrapping up, just the summary is, I believe that finding the right peace to your heart will help you find the peace in your life. I think that's what it's all about. And so I want to share with the audience, I did a live summit. I do lots of live events. I've hosted over 75 virtual summits through COVID. I mean, it's who I am. I love helping and celebrating people. And I put together a 6-hour live summit in December of 2021. So we were finishing the year. And so I'd like to share that link with all of our listeners, with all the attendees. I'm going to provide a link. You can go in there. You have 2 weeks access to listen to the 6 hours of leadership principles and practices. These people are, it started off with Gary Brackett. He was the champion captain for the Indianapolis Colts Super Bowl team. And he kicks it off and leads us into so many leadership conversations with people from all over the world. So I know you'll enjoy it. And it is just a blessing to be able to be here and share ideas with you from my heart. I love teaching leadership principles. And so, Jenny, thank you so much for having me on this panel today for She's Empowered. I love it.
Oh, I know. And hey, everybody in their life wants to, if you want people to look at you and say she's empowered, it starts today.
That's
so
right.
It starts today, and it starts every day of your life, every moment of your life. You can be empowered. So I just want to leave that with our listeners. And Melahni, how can our listeners and viewers get a hold of you? Where are you at on the internet?
You can go to everydayleaders.com. That's it. You can find me there. There's lots of links on that website. You can reach out to me. You can come to the Bible study devotional every single day. It's right on the front page. It's about halfway down. There's a Zoom link. You can just click on that and join us. And many people hop on whenever they can from all over the world. So it's 7:30 Eastern every day. And we would love to see you and meet you and join us.
All right. I love it. Okay. And with that, everyone, thank you so much for being here. And Melahni, again, thank you for being with us today. This has just been absolutely a life-giving conversation with so many golden nuggets. So I encourage everyone, if you were not taking notes, make sure you go back and take notes, because there is just a ton of things that you can start using today in your life to make it more empowered and feel that confidence and be a leader in your life. All right. Thank you guys. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.